Let me just check that we're live here. Looks like it. Cool. Thanks everybody for joining. I think there's a few new people, maybe you've been around once or twice before. But welcome. This is Ethereum Vancouver. Every week we do a talk or a presentation or a panel. And this week we have UB and Mike to talk about smart villages in the post-AI world. If you have any questions, there's microphones on the chairs. We're streaming, so we just want to make sure that we get your audio. So I'll ask you to grab a mic if you have a question, and then you can hold down the button to turn it on, just 3 seconds or so. Cool. I'll let you guys take it away.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for being here. So we've been in kind of crypto adjacent for a while. We started this podcast back in 2020 or 2013, and it's called Future Thinkers. And we've interviewed a bunch of people in the crypto space. We interviewed Vitalik Buterin, Vit Jedlik, who else? Just kind of we've been sort of adjacent to crypto, but also doing what we're going to show you today, which is smart villages. So I'm going to start with a question here. How many of you guys are excited about the future or looking forward to what's happening with technology and AI and that sort of stuff? Like how many are you actually optimistic about the future? Show of hands. And how many are kind of like a little bit scared of the future? Okay. So
how many are outright pessimistic?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Oh, really? So we kind of saw the writing on the wall with artificial intelligence, and which is one of the reasons we were interested in crypto. And we were being digital nomads actually for a while. We were traveling throughout Southeast Asia. We left Canada in about 2013, started an online business, and 10 years went by. We were traveling, visiting different cultures, and just getting really 10 years of learning and focusing on new systems, new technologies, new ways that people could live. And there was sort of this pull that we had to live in community and establish roots because we'd been traveling so long. So COVID hit and we had our first kid, and my mom got cancer around that time, and we decided to end our travels and move back to Canada. So by that time, the podcast had been doing fairly well. It was, maybe 100,000 downloads a month, and we had interviewed a lot of, kind of big thinkers. We had focused on community because we sort of saw a post-AI future or post-job future with AI. We also saw loneliness epidemic. We saw rising costs of living, and we figured that there would be a rising demand for people to want to live in community, off-grid. And so that was actually my next question to you guys. How many of you guys would, if you could, if money was not an object, buy a property, buy a farm, and live off-grid? That's almost always universally the thing people would do. Not many in this room, actually, surprisingly. Interesting. So that's pretty much what we did. We crowdfunded this 400-acre property. It's a golf course, RV park, and we crowdfunded it with crypto. We were going to do this big NFT play. We didn't proceed with that. But we made this plan to build a smart village, and we hit the ground running in about 2021, I think, and have been building ever since. So we're kind of entering into another phase of this project where we want to basically create a network of these villages and sort of do, a singular membership where you can go across the globe and people can live in this way. So the features of this place and what we're planning on building, it's going to be focused on health and wellness, community, a healthy environment for raising kids, and maker culture, and trying to figure out what it would look like to live in an environment like this where AI and maybe AGI in the not so distant future are ubiquitous. So, yeah. Thank you.
One of the things that we think about a lot is that the world is obviously changing very quickly. and there's new technologies come and go, and some of them end up becoming really embedded in society, and some of them make a lot of hype and then flop. And it's harder and harder to predict what's actually going to happen, we find. But there are some things that are universal and human, and there are some things that have always supported health and wellness and the continuation of human race. And we want to recreate those things, replicate those things, but also without shying away from the tech. Because a lot of people who think about these kinds of things reject technology outright because either they can't understand it, or they're scared of it, or they think it's just bad. We have a different approach. We think that if we are agentic, and if people can educate themselves and each other and practice and try different things, we can use technology for good and also live in nature and be able to raise children in community and have healthy food and healthy lifestyle. So basically, we are trying to recreate the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's sort of another thing that was informed by travel is visiting really old cultures. So we lived in Bulgaria for about 5 years, all throughout Southeast Asia. And some of these cultures and cities have been around for literally thousands of years. And Bulgaria was really interesting because there's very much a family lifestyle there. Like, people are very family oriented. There was always a really good social atmosphere at night. No matter what time of day, you could always find people on walking streets in the bar area.
Kids are welcome
socializing.
everywhere.
It was affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids are welcome everywhere. And it's not because there's something special going on there. They've just sort of passed down values and the importance of slowing down. There's this term called ILAC in Bulgaria, which just means
Chill
slowing
out.
down, chill. And specifically the town we lived in was very much like that. So, all these different places we've traveled to, we've been trying to borrow terms and ideas and build this into the culture. So culture design is a really big deal with this project. But at the same time, we want to be as self-sufficient as possible. So we want to bring in modern day tools. We want to do, like, one of the next things we're going to be doing the next year. I've built out a makerspace, so we've got our laser cutter and 3D printer and all that stuff. I'm going to be getting a big CNC router so that we can do pattern cabin templates and be pumping out prefab cabins on the land. So this is going to be one of the developments we're doing in the next year. We want to have something like 60 cabins. You can do about 1 cabin per 2 days and then build them in another day. So 3 days pretty much start to finish to build these cabins. So there's lots of new technologies that we can use to actually build out and make this type of thing more accessible to people. And I think with AI, there's a whole other interesting way of approaching community design in villages. I've been working on an AI, basically a village OS, and we're using it to train new people when they come on the land, answer questions. It has full access to all the data, map data, GIS data on the land, and we're using it to coordinate events, coordinate people, coordinate labor, keep an updated plan of what's actually happening on the land, give advice on where to plant, seasonality, when to plant, and also introduce people, because we get about 3,000 people on this land per season. So it's a functioning campsite. And lots of people come to visit. So this sort of matchmaking introductory AI assistant that can, link like-minded people together is something we've been thinking about as well. So this is sort of the general introduction to the project. I'm trying to think of what else you guys should know. Actually, maybe I'll just open it to questions. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should probably tell you that. It's in Clearwater. It's about a 6-hour drive from here. 2 hours north of Kamloops. Yeah. And it's called Wells Gray Resort, wellsgrayresort.ca. Also, in the makerspace, I 3D printed a bunch of little fidget spinners and put NFC chips in them too. So if you guys want my contact info, you can grab those. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that it's a campsite right now, so people can come in, stay. we're working on a membership model right now for long-term residents. Seasonal residents start because it's very cold and we can't accommodate a lot of people just yet. So yeah, we are working on a membership model for people who want to be involved more long-term, but people can come and do it right now.
Okay, so that was the looping video of our actual land. And of course, I've been playing with AI videos. So I did a bunch of prompting to try and get an idea of what this place would actually look like in the long term. So this is all AI generated. But these are the actual cabin designs that we're working on building. And yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 kids, so obviously I think about education a lot and about what kind of things they're going to be learning that will prepare them for the future. So I'm thinking a lot about unschooling, homeschooling, world schooling, forest schooling, whatever you want to call it. Basically, how do we educate kids and raise them properly so that they will be prepared for a future that we don't know what it will be yet, but they will have the right skills, the right attitudes, and the right connections and friendships, so they will be able to manage it when it comes.
The next shot here are the actual cabins that we're going to be building in the next year. So I actually went to the website of the manufacturer that I'm getting the plans from, downloaded all their models, put it in a Nano Banana, put it through 3D generation software, plugged it into this, and so they're actually most of the generations here are like realistic plans that we want to do. Yeah, go.
What are the rough price ranges for these cabins?
Well, retail, they're in the range of $30,000 to $60,000 to buy it from the actual manufacturers. But with us bringing production in house, is probably around $5,000 to $10,000 in material costs.
In materials, and then labor and finishing and furnishing.
Yeah, but it's about 2 days to cut and then maybe a day to click them together.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's all Japanese style joinery, so everything just kind of clicks into place. It's pretty cool.
What would be the country of origin then?
They're
the company I've been talking to is Canadian. They're called the Bunky Co. But it's probably going to be I'm actually just getting advisement from them. We're not necessarily working with them, but it'll be like if we go forward, a licensing agreement. So I'll just get their plans and make their cabins. But I mean, I do CAD, so I can kind of reverse engineer some of these click together cabins.
You mentioned you were traveling for quite a few years. What made you decide on Canada as the place to start this initiative?
Good question. The short answer is family. We were living in Bulgaria. The COVID hit. We had our first kid. Mom had cancer. Decided to move back. But I was thinking about it a lot at the time because we had options like doing this in Colombia or doing it in Southeast Asia.
Or even Bulgaria. We were looking at Bulgaria.
We actually sort of got the ball moving in Bulgaria before we arrived in Canada. But I kind of feel like because of the bureaucracy here, because of some of because of the seasonality here, it's one of the harder places to pull this off. So if we could pull it off in Canada, the long-term vision of this is to do it around the world. So if we could pull it off here where the bureaucracy is high, building costs are high, maybe buy-in is a bit low, then the likelihood that we can pull this off in Ecuador or someplace like that is a lot higher because basically I want to do that, okay, go build it. You don't really need permits. Yeah, and it has been very difficult. There's lots of permitting, there's lots of bureaucracy, there's a creek that runs through the entire property. It brings in silt and gravel from up the mountain. It actually needs to be physically removed or it just floods the whole land. And so to do that process, you have to go through all this permitting and BS with the Canadian government. And they 1 year just decided, yeah, we're not going to give it to you this year. Just random, some new guy. And it was like a threat of a $1.5 million fine if we put the excavator near the creek to do this, even though it's been done every other year. So I used ChatGPT to basically spam them with bureaucratic nonsense until they gave it. So yeah, we got it back. But yeah, the bureaucracy is definitely an issue.
What are What are your thoughts for sustainability with this, and like, what are your goals for energy?
Yeah,
on the
good
line?
question. There's lots of questions when it comes to solar and batteries. You know, there's a lot of debate about lithium mining and that sort of stuff. The source of electricity for our property is hydro, and nearby hydro, I believe. And we would like to do solar panels. We actually have the ability to do micro hydro. So
Yeah, we have our own
I'm going to be
creek.
approaching companies to do sponsorships. Because there's a whole video component to this whole thing. You know, obviously the footage for the last one is high end. We've come from a video background. So we want to do a documentary. And so the sponsorship opportunities for stuff like that. So we're probably going to do micro hydro along the creek, and then solar.
We can also, because actually it's very in the winter. It's not like here.
Yeah.
We're in interior, so we get good exposure there.
Yeah. And then as far as food production, this is another interesting thing about that region. So our neighbor has a ranch, and the only neighbor for kilometers, or there's one other neighbor, but we're in the boonies. We're in the middle of nowhere. And so he's got a cattle ranch, and they're working on food production. So one thing that most people think when they start projects or think about projects like this is that you have to produce everything yourself. It's not really the case, because there's lots of other people like us doing similar things, but just focusing on different angles. And these guys are focusing on food. We don't have to do that. We can focus on media and accommodation and makerspace stuff, which is pretty much our main focus.
That's our jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Education.
But I mean, like, we have a lot of the communal infrastructure to have an entire community come and live here. So it really depends on what people want when they come in. You know, if you want to come here for 6 months out of the year, you're part of the culture. So, like, I anticipate it's just going to keep evolving and be whatever it becomes. But we are talking, I don't know how much I should say about our conversations,
maybe
but
not yet.
no, okay. Yeah.
So you obviously want
Thank
to
you.
inspire other people that are going to come and like partake in building this community and culture. What do you like kind of envision for that? Because obviously in the Nano Banana video, there's like a lot of technology and technologists, and I kind of want to know what your thesis is for like how you view the future of AI and work kind of like integrating into something like this, because you do need a lot of people that are going to want to do a lot of like hands-on labor.
Yeah.
And there still is obviously a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built, and that's going to be expensive. But like, how are you trying to incentivize people to become a part of this? Like, what's the call to action kind of?
Just coming to stay there is the simplest thing. Like, come there, check it out. We want to host festivals. We want to host meetups and stuff. So we are talking with some people about hosting festivals there. We want to have like a draw, an event, an art exhibition sort of thing. But what was
The question was about robots and tech.
yeah,
So,
no, I want to take this
okay,
one.
sure,
actually. So,
sure.
you know, the nature of our podcast has been thinking about the future and trying to make predictions. And for quite a while, I was able to get quite far ahead, maybe a decade, and I'd be able to predict a lot of things. Now it's maybe down to 2 years at the high end, just because of how fast things go. But one thing I don't think people are really thinking a lot about is, you know, the next, let's say 3 generations down the line of ChatGPT put in robot bodies that now cost $4,000 a piece. So what that's going to do is just completely change industries as far as the trades and, you know, anything like what we're doing. You could have a fleet of robots for very little money doing a lot of the work. And it sounds far-fetched, but I'm keeping an eye on what's happening in China with their robots that they're releasing. So, I mean, it's inevitable we're a few years down the road. People think the trades are safe. They're definitely not. And we're looking at deploying fleets to help with the infrastructure and that sort of stuff in the next few years. And that's part of why I'm building the makerspace, because I think that's going to be another important part of building out that infrastructure, is being able to build your own open source, home-built robots. So.
And there's so much work to do on a project like this. It's literally endless, that you can never have enough hands, whether robot hands or human hands.
Yeah. So we're doing work-stay programs too. If budget's an issue, we just basically, you can stay in an RV and work
Trade
on the
work
land.
from
It's kind of a
stay,
good fit
yeah.
for people who already have a good online income, because you can just throw a few hours at it. You get built-in community, there's shared spaces, throw a few hours at it, you know, every day maybe.
So people are free to come stay here as long as they
Yeah.
participate in labor and like just become a part of the community.
Yeah, well,
You
we're
do
doing
have to
work
apply
yeah.
for work stay programs. We don't just take people in randomly. So people can either come in and just stay at a campsite like a paying guest, or they can apply for a work stay program, and then we'll have a conversation and make sure that they're a right fit. And then if they're the right fit, then they can come.
And keep in mind too, this is really a prototype. Like this is step 0.01 of what we want to do in the future. So, you know, we're looking to raise a large chunk of money to be able to acquire multiple properties, build out the plan across each of them, do the same thing. So this has really been a testing ground for the last 5 years.
So if you're trying to raise money, are you trying to make money then? Too? It's trying to be a profitable
It
business
is.
kind of?
It is a profitable business.
Yeah.
Just through
Oh, true. I
camping.
guess the camping and everything, yeah.
We'll do that again. So I think campsites are actually the ideal way to go, especially in BC, because they're popular. They're usually, you know,
Do you
pretty in
kind of want it
demand.
to be like an eco village that will attract like digital nomads, kind of like what Selenia was like, kind of like the
I
hostel company, or
I don't know what that is, but in a way, yes. I mean, I do think employment is going to change quite a bit in the next 5 years, so it's hard to say. But it's probably most suited right now to people who have an online income.
Yeah.
But then again, there's lots of trade, like need for trade skills and, you know, building cabins and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, and we do want to also create opportunities for people to become long-term residents. So that's where we're building out the membership model, and we know that it can be difficult to live in a place like that in the winter. So that's why we want to create a network of these places so that people can just pay into a membership and then be able to freely move around.
so probably if I had to predict right now, the next site would be somewhere either Mexico or Colombia.
cool. Because yeah, the reason I was bringing up Selenia is because it was this international. They were hostels, but they had in them, so they're like attracting a lot of people. But I think it didn't last after COVID. I went to a really nice Medellin in Colombia, and I feel like they did build like a cool international community, but obviously it's different than like a kind of eco village. I feel like this is a lot more participatory, kind of like you want people to be a part of the construction and like, you know, building of this community. I think people need that kind of nowadays too. I think a lot of people are kind of becoming a little bit, nihilistic. So
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of factors that have led us to start this project that are now sort of coming into fruition in the world. So, I mean, isolation is a big deal. That a lot of people are pretty much, and now with AI, no one's trusting what they're seeing online anymore. So there's sort of a renewed focus on local community and on in-person stuff. And I think there's going to be more of a demand for this kind of thing. We've already seen it. The last year was so much busier than the year before.
because I think people like I've been to Shambhala before, and I think people that go to that would probably be interested in something like this. And like I actually have friends that they're hosting festivals at a property that looks kind of similar to this on Salt Spring as well.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know like Leland or like those Burning Man people. They were having these raves there, which were kind of fun. But I think it's a good way to activate community. A lot of those people are also like crypto adjacent people, which is kind of funny. But there's definitely demand for building culture like this in BC, especially.
Yeah, the sort of maker culture, maker spaces, co-working spaces, like a lot of those things have increased. I mean, DIY is kind of like when I was working online, I always wanted to have a wood shop and be able to do bigger projects, and this place just enabled that for me. But I think there's a lot of desire to do more hands-on stuff and in person, offline, you know. So I think this facilitates an increasing need in the future. But then there's also like, what happens with jobs with AI? What happens with jobs with robotics? You know, what happens when people don't trust the internet anymore? Like, what happens when the government starts to decline and even collapse? Like, there's so many different factors that are kind of pointing to these types of projects being the thing. So we're trying to hit it early. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really went not well with previous iterations of eco-villages is that they didn't think enough about their business model. And having been on the land now for almost 5 years, we've thought about a lot what kind of people actually come there, what kind of guests are, the best kind of guests to have, and what kinds of people just that live like neighbors live in our region make the best community members, and also what it would be worth it for people to come and have access to a place like this on a seasonal basis. So for example, I grew up in Russia, and there's a concept of dacha culture, which is where people have this small plot of land in the community in the countryside that they come back to every year, and they have friends there, they have family, sometimes the grandparents stay there the whole summer, and then the kids come and stay there for when they have time off school, and it's a real village community without having to live there year round. And I really love that. I think that this kind of thing is really missing in Canada, because you get a real sense of community in those places, and people come there to really heal and make friends, and return to the same people that they've known for decades, and have a little garden, or it just be in nature. And they don't have to give up their city life, which is, I think, you get the best of both worlds. And it amazes me that this kind of thing is not common in Canada, because there's so much nature here, and it would definitely be possible to do that. So I was really inspired by that idea from my childhood, and I'd love to recreate that where we are, because it's a much easier entry for most people than having to completely relocate or just go for a retreat. Going for a retreat is cool, but it doesn't really give you those kinds of lasting friendships that you would want, and it doesn't give you an immersive experience of actually living at a village and letting your nervous system relax and get into a new rhythm. But if you have access to a place like this for the whole season, and you can come out for weekends or for a week or whenever you want, then it's a lot more of like a third place. I know maybe it's a cheesy comparison, but Starbucks aim to create a third place that's not your work, not your home, but your third place that you go to, and you have this atmosphere and community and friends. So something like that in nature. Yeah. So anyway, we've been thinking a lot about this membership structure that would allow for people to buy into something like this, and we're launching it soon.
So more or less a call to action out of this. We are looking for people to collaborate with. There's a bunch of things to design with this. There is a crypto avenue with this, especially when it comes to really easy things like tool sharing, shared spaces. There's a lot of aspects of that. We did actually make an NFT a few years ago that we were going to use to crowdfund this. Turns out we didn't need it. We were able to crowdfund it anyway, so we succeeded without it. But we've been in the crypto space for a long time and feel like there's a lot of opportunity to do experimentation with crypto on a place like this. So it is something we're thinking a lot about. But there's culture design. There's actually building stuff, infrastructure, cabins on the land. There's just living there and consuming sort of while you're working. And so there's sort of a lifestyle element to this. And then we also want to host festivals and kind of bring in event planners and people who actually want to bring large groups here. So I'll give like a brief intro of the land. So obviously golf course, it's a 9-hole golf course. People ask us, why do we have a golf course? It's because we have 400 acres in total, and we don't actually, the golf course is maybe 30. It brings in a trickle of revenue, mostly draws campers in. And my brother and my dad are pretty avid golfers, so they just maintain it. But it's a little 9-hole golf course, and we've got so much more buildable area on the land, so we're not really messing with the golf course. We have stopped using pesticides and that sort of stuff, and the water that we use to irrigate is all from the land anyway. So the campsite itself has this big creek running through it. There are about maybe, how many spots?
45 serviced sites, and we have space for maybe 30 or 40 more RVs.
Yeah.
So
We built a glamping dome. That was a sponsorship. We built a makerspace. A lot of it was sponsored.
Built a sauna.
Built a sauna last year. So we're like doing little bits and pieces of the full vision, the health and wellness, the maker culture, all of that stuff.
Built a garden.
Yeah, permaculture garden. I'm the one flying all the drone stuff, so I've even thought of doing like a FPV drone racing course, but that's just me. Yeah, and we host these huge national disc golf tournaments and lots of huge events here. But we're trying to we're really trying to tap into Vancouver because there's an art scene and tech scene, and that kind of hits home for us. So bringing more people in to collaborate on tech and art would be kind of ideal. And I've mentioned the festival thing. We'd love to do like an art installation walk in the backfield. I'll wait until it pops up here. But there are these hiking trails that go all the way back, and we've hardly even seen a good chunk of this land. So there's this opportunity where there are these hiking trails and clearings to do festivals that go way into the forest. And we back up onto Crown land. So there'll never be
Noise is not an
complaints.
issue.
Noise is not an issue. Oh yeah, this is actually where I wanted to show you. So that's a big man-made private lake. We don't have to treat it or anything. We've got man-made drains and spillways. So we just turn a valve, empty it, turn another valve, fill it, and then it's fresh, clean water. And then these are the hiking trails going way up. And you can see there's one clearing at the top left, and it just goes like that for kilometers into the hills. So you get clearing, little hike, clearing. So I imagine doing like a art festival where people kind of do a walking tour through the hills, and there'd be these big installations and structures set up. Yeah, we can accommodate a lot of people. This whole area here is all tenting, and then the campsite is back here. We've got a wood shop, so I'm really building out this wood shop so we can produce cabins and all of that stuff. I've got a little RV with all my maker stuff in it, so we are actually, yeah, you'll see what I'm building. This is one of the things, so you guys can check that out. It's like 3D printed business cards. What else can I show you? Horse corrals, cabins, private lake.
Wait, so did you guys do the irrigation for the lake, or like?
No, it was already there
it was part of the
when we came.
That just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah.
There was also like a waterfall. Is that on the property? That looks really cool.
That is 10 minutes away. It's
Okay.
one of the largest waterfalls in Canada, and it's one of 40 waterfalls in the region. That's another thing. The whole
It just looked really cool. That's
the
why, yeah.
region's crazy for hiking in nature and all
So
of that stuff.
How
So
many
there's-
kilometers from Kamloops is it?
I can tell you it's
2 hours drive.
Oh, okay. So it's north.
Yeah,
Yeah.
north
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Kamloops.
True.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my main kind of call to action, if you guys ever want to plan events, or if you could think of ways you would want to be involved,
Come
talk
and
to us.
talk to us.
I haven't played this whole video yet, so I don't really know. Yeah, it's pretty much just, this is year one.
This is
When
when
we
we
first
first
moved
got the
on.
land, yeah.
So a lot of development has taken place since here. But yeah, like there's maybe 20 people there in the summer that are full time, and then high turnover because of the campsite. So maybe 3,000 or so people every summer. Sometimes we have events. Sometimes people come through the podcast. So there's sort of like a built-in community of people joining. But yeah, those are the hiking trails. This is where I'd want to host the festivals. So yeah, you can see the previous owners logged quite a bit. But that's actually kind of good because they didn't clear cut. So we've got lots of space to do expansion actually with cabins and wellness facilities and stuff. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for having us. Any questions?
I have a question about how are you guys thinking about governance?
Good question. I think the more I use AI and where I see it going, the more I think having AI mediated governance is the way to go. Especially if we start moving into local AI, not sending data to Gemini or ChatGPT. I think that's going to be the way to go because it can take into context all of the different personalities and track contribution, labor, hours, all of that stuff. I've used it actually quite extensively for conflict resolution already, and it's kind of incredible. There's this huge encyclopedia called the Open Collaboration Encyclopedia. We're friends with one of the authors, and I basically just fed it the book and said, what's the best model, or like how to resolve, it's good for resolving conflicts. And as far as like tokenizing it, I don't really have a good answer for it. I'm not really sure like how you would, if you would do like quadratic voting, or how, if you would distribute like a token for actually voting on things getting done. Most of the time, our governance system is dinner and a bottle of wine, so we really just play it by ear most of the time. But when there's some things we just can't solve, we go to AI, and it really helps. So I anticipate in the next couple of years that would take a much larger role. And it is already taking a role in the Village OS system. I'm not supposed to call it that because it's trademarked by someone else. Village
Village
AI
Stack.
system, whatever, Village system. But yeah, I am working quite a bit because I'm solving our own problems. So one thing I think is kind of neat, I'm getting these ESP32 boards, connecting them to walkie-talkies. We pretty much communicate exclusively on walkie-talkies throughout the property. So I'm bringing it up so that I can have ChatGPT or Gemini voice chat when you connect to a certain channel on the walkie-talkie, so you can be out in the field and get answers. And then I'm building a database to actually give to the AI, so it always has context. And I'm also getting it to update the database at all times too. So whenever events happen, or any kind of event happens, it has an up-to-date record of it, as well as training videos too, so that when people come there, you can kind of put them to work on complex tasks because everything's documented.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up, like, you guys said that like in the summer you have like 20 or so kind of full-time people. In like the Web3 crypto space, this idea of like DAOs and like everyone gets one vote, and it's like kind of mixed success, right? And then a lot of things become like benevolent dictator type stuff. Just from your experience running this thing, like maybe short term, medium, long term, like do you think there is value in this like full kind of democracy, or do you think that value in single-minded visionaries stuff? Like
I think it would be really hard to pull this off if it was fully democratic right now. I mean, even with the structure that we have of there being a lot of family and friends there, it can be really difficult just to get people motivated and on the same track. So the dictatorship model, I would almost want more of it at this point just to make things happen and get them done. But I do see a pathway to transitioning, and I really hope we can pull that off into much more democratic. I think there might be, compartmentalized aspects of the project. Like, for example, with investors for the project, I'd probably go with some sort of subclass of shares that wouldn't be as strong voting rights as anyone who's not living there, but there would be some aspect of voting rights for investors. And then, you can do lots of different classes of shares that can represent people's stake and say in the property.
Yeah.
So we're playing with that idea a lot, but at the place that we're at, it's kind of hard to do it because it would just add bureaucracy and slow the whole thing down. So, it would be death by committee at this point, but in the future, I think there's definitely an avenue for it. And one thing we lack is more contributors, and it might be because of the way we do it now. So, that's one of the reasons we're here, is we want to have more people collaborating and generating ideas and being a part of the project. So maybe that means we need to change how we're doing it, but we're open.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, how are you doing with investors long term? Is there a point where you would actually lose control, you would think?
We're in a sort of a critical phase right now. Like, we are doing a big fundraise in the next couple of months. We want to do the full development of the project with all the cabins and the makerspace and all the big development plans. But the way we've structured it is not risky if the next phase is completed. So really, we'll have an answer in the next 6 months. But the way we've structured it so far is to secure the land long term and not lose control of it.
So okay, I hope this doesn't discourage at all, because like I love what you're doing. I'm just trying to think like, okay, so if it does do well, what would stop it from becoming a development project? Because you do want to expand. And if it doesn't do well, what stops it from becoming an Airbnb? Does that make sense? Like I don't want to like.
Well, maybe
Like, I'm
maybe take
basically
a
trying
second to
think, like-
define the negative points of some of those things, just so we're on the same page.
Yeah, so like, well, basically the idea is like, can we create this environment where the culture is different, or kind of like I'm like the vibe I got from the beginning of the talk is like, can we create this place of peace and harmony where things are different, whether that's to do with jobs or your lifestyle. You mentioned like the future of kids and things like that. So I'm like picturing this utopia land, right? So like from one standpoint, it's like, okay, if that goes well, how are you controlling this from expanding? Because if it expands, it becomes a city again, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, well,
And then if it doesn't do well, it just wouldn't become a reality, right? Like,
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the, I guess, I don't know. Like
it's funny because
when you've been thinking about, because you've been thinking about it for a while, so I'm not trying to like disrespect the idea. I'm just trying to understand, like, from your perspective, battling with these thoughts of like, how do I get to this utopia? What is your perspective of what it takes to get?
Well, it not doing well to me would constitute a need for a lot more of what you're talking about, more Airbnbs, more expansion and development. If it did really well financially and with popularity, then I think that makes space for it to maintain the vision. So it's kind of like, if it doesn't do well, no one's going to care if it becomes that anyway. And if it does do well, then we can maintain the vision of it. So I think, I mean, I know speaking to a group of people in the crypto world saying, trust me, I really want it to happen, is like a pretty shitty thing to say, but it's like, this is sort of our mission and our life's goal to do this. So we're guarding it from exactly what you're saying until we can figure out ways for it not needing us to guard it. So, but that, I mean, that's very much a part of what we want to do. Like, we want this to be a legacy thing. Like, we're having kids, we're trying to build this. We want community to be there. We want people to have a stake in it. We want people to be there as long as we are. So, in order to do that, we have to maintain this vision and guard it really carefully. So
yeah, no, I have no doubt towards that. I just meant like, what would those like guardrails be protected from that? Like whether that's like, I don't know, like not taking fundings with like them getting some votes. Maybe it's like a I don't know, like a corporate structure you're setting for this. Maybe it's like, oh, we're not gonna sell this membership to anyone, as you said, like no one can just come and stay. We vet them, we look into their cases, like so like maybe I can't even pay to go here. Maybe you still review my app. But basically I was just trying to think, what are those things that you said in your own head that going forward, this is how we're going to keep it from becoming city? Or
so
well, one of the things is that we're thinking about carrying capacity of the land, and also because of where we are, and because of our zoning, and because of, you know, we're in the middle of a provincial park. Although this is private land, it's not parkland, but we're surrounded by parkland. We can't actually build a city like that. That would not be legal. We can build a seasonal village. That is what the land can support. And maybe in the future we can have full-time residents, but that would be a separate development application and in a separate process. But this is meant to be a rural development now and in perpetuity. That's our vision, for this to be a rural, tech-enabled village, not a city or a town.
being that we've been in the crypto world for a long time and have explored, you know, we used to do like marketing and have launched many different crypto startups with teams. You know, people are always exploring where to incorporate and where to set up foundations, and you know, best places around the world, and what structures are ideal for a DAO or for, you know, different crypto organizations for facilitating coins. Like there's all kinds of different structures to do. So we've got some information just from that experience about what would protect the land. We started a foundation. So we have the Future Thinkers Foundation, and we have been exploring ways to transfer ownership over to the foundation to lock it in perpetuity. Right now it's a corporation, just a standard LLC that owns the land and is responsible for operations. So what I could sort of foresee happening is that the LLC would sell it to the foundation. Foundation would hold it and have some sort of contractual obligation to keep it in perpetuity with the intended purpose. And then the LLC would just convert to more of an operations role. And then how to distribute shares of that ownership would be, yeah, we have to figure that out still, kind of. But yeah,
It also
this is
depends
one of
on
those
what kind of contributors we work with.
Yeah, this is one of those areas too where, you know, this is why we actually wanted to approach this group of people, because you guys are already thinking about that kind of stuff. I mean, generally in crypto world, you're thinking about governance, you're thinking about protection of assets, that sort of stuff. So that's one of the reasons we want to collaborate with this community, is because you guys can bring stuff to the table when it comes to that. Yeah.
So like part of it is like how you're picking the land and how you're setting up structures. Yeah, I just wanted to know like what are those like criteria that you've been thinking about to make sure it's like going the direction you want.
Yeah, and it's different per land too. So I think we've got a pretty tight model with this campsite thing. There's so many campsites, you know, there's a demand to stay longer term on campsites, but people are more or less incentivized to just have high turnover because they can get the highest rate. But I mean, it's interesting because they have all the beginning infrastructure of a village. You add saunas and maker spaces and communal centers, and suddenly you have the ability for people to stay there full time, or at least for 6 months of the year. So acquiring more campsites like this would be one strategic objective, at least when it comes to British Columbia. But then depending on the bioregion, it changes. So if you're in Ecuador, you might look at resorts, or if you're in, you know, Southeast Asia, you might look at
gated community or something like that.
or
It depends.
haciendas. Like there's different sort of ways we're looking at this, but we're trying to figure out what are the shared values and what are the shared infrastructure elements, and then a lot of that peripheral stuff, like the exact housing structure, the exact infrastructure, is really variable. So really depends on the bioregion, and we're not trying to just copy paste onto different locations. We want to actually figure out what each piece of land needs. So, but I mean, we've explored a lot, so we've got a good idea of what we would do in different locations. But I think for British Columbia, if we were to do this again, it would be campsite for sure. Yeah, it's just easy and perfect for what we want to do. Yeah.
So I assume you have a grid tie because you have a golf course.
That's
and you
right.
need to have but you were saying that you would to explore the microgrid and or to create a microgrid, and then what sort of system would you use to store that? So you have
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
good.
obviously the hydro would work. But,
Yeah.
depending on if the silt doesn't block that off.
At any given time during the summer months, we might have 100 to 200 RVs on the property, all using air conditioning and charging their phones and whatever, running pumps and stuff like that. So there's a significant draw in the summer months. And then in winter, there's a different kind of draw. There's heating, and we have to keep a lot of the pipes from freezing. So there's a lot of work to do there, and that is also on electricity. So I don't know is really the answer, because the amount of batteries that we would have to do on a place like this would be significant. So, I mean, there are some, the goal is to be as independent as possible, but I don't think in the event of an apocalypse level thing, like what is feasible in the next 5 years, that we're going to see we're going to see like hydroelectric disappear. So I'm okay as far as a resilient standpoint, relying on grid power. But I do want to just like slowly over time just start
Have
adding
backups.
more, have backups.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've got a number of generators on the land. We get power outages all the time, so we do have to use our own power sources. But right now it's gasoline or diesel. So,
How do you guys usually get food there?
well, the neighbor, like I said, is a rancher, so that's where we get meat.
Yeah, we
And-
actually have quite a number of ranches and people growing food and raising animals in this region.
UV's doing
So-
a little permaculture garden way up here,
Cool.
and
Yeah, I
then
was gonna
another one in
ask.
the back. So
Cool.
yeah, so she's started like an orchard sort of thing. I don't know how that's going right now, but maybe we shouldn't bring that up.
I have a quick question also about like obviously this is a long-term project,
Yeah.
and there's going to be growth in people, growth in assets that are going to get there, and this is to me like the scary plan that comes in. Like, do you have any fire mitigations, health, security, like
Mhm.
all these things outside factors that could affect the entire grounds? No.
Good question. Yeah. We're the muster point for the region for fires. And because it's a golf course, we're actually one of the safer places to be with fires. We do get fires every year.
Well, like
yeah, the
everywhere in
smoke,
BC.
You know, Kamloops area, it's just always burning every year. Yeah.
Do you do
Yeah.
like
So, I
little
mean,
fires?
what's
That's-
that?
Do you do like small fires to slowly control like some of the outsourced area?
I know the natives in the region do that. I don't know how big of a territory they are actually able to cover. It's probably not very big.
No, it's just springtime.
Yeah, yeah. A good question though. Yeah, no, we do get some. I've got videos of showing the smoke that you can see in the distance.
Not right
so yeah,
on our
it is
property.
a concern for sure. It's definitely a concern, but it's a concern everywhere in BC. So
Mhm. And we have a lot of water. We have 2 creeks and this private lake and multiple ponds. And we have huge pumps, like
yeah, we bought a
industrial grade
pump
pumps.
2-3 years ago. That's like the size of a small car. Beautiful. So yeah, and we're kind of thinking about that.
And it's a diesel pump, so even if the grid
Yeah.
goes down, it still works.
Yeah.
So
it can drain that lake in an hour or two. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we're thinking about that because we're probably the biggest operation within a 30-minute drive. So a lot of people rely on us. If anyone gets stuck going to like the waterfalls, we're the first person of place of contact. So
we do a lot of
I'm like
search and
the
rescue
guy who
volunteering.
handles- yeah, exactly. Search and rescue a lot of the time, or like pulling cars out of ditches, or clearing when people get stuck, clearing snow. Like
Flying
I hop in the
drones.
tractor and the excavator all the time, and I'm literally doing land maintenance work.
When the neighbors'
Well, that's
cows
it.
go
We've got that
missing, we fly a
planned.
drone and go to
Yeah.
find them.
Yeah, so I'm the high tech guy, but I'm also, and a lot of the people on the land do that. My brother used to be a bartender, now he's a mechanic, basically mechanic. But yeah, he's worked on this project. There's a bunch of people that have a lot of diverse skills who help us out. Yeah, but I mean, like that's another subject that's really interesting to me is meta skills that will be that basically learning how to learn. So that's something we've gotten really good at, is figuring out how to hack learning, because there's just such a mountain of stuff you have to learn to operate this place. It does. It really does. Yeah, I got my parents on learning AI for fixing the tractor and solving problems on the land, and they swear by it. So you can actually, because I pay for the ChatGPT subscription, one of the models. So it has the video, so I can go up and like show it the tractor and be like, "Do you hear that sound? Why is it making that sound?"
See this?
And like
yeah,
it knows.
I'm like in the front row.
Yeah.
screaming
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
I'm like, it gets
Yeah.
mad 'cause it does work.
Yeah,
It does, yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah.
And you just
Yeah. Yeah. Or like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or we have a gator. We have a lot of utility vehicles, and the gator was making some chuggy sound, and we had changed the air filter, we had changed the starter. There's a bunch of issues with it, and then ChatGPT immediately identified what it was, fixed it. I can't remember what the issue was, but it was like a 10-minute fix because ChatGPT could figure it out.
The symptoms
Yeah.
video, and it guesses it. It
Yeah.
funnels it right down.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's why I'm trying to give it as much information and organized data so that it has always maximum context, so it can always help us. So, you know, manuals for all of the machines. We've got a lot of machines on the property. So
Did you ever think about going with a local machine? I'm speaking loud, so we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. Sorry, thanks, guys. Do you ever think about making a local setup so that just in case grid does go down and things go black, that you have your infinite supply of data? And
I do want to. I haven't been super motivated, but data security is more my main motivation to do that. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet, to be honest.
fixing gators all day
it's just
long.
too easy. And then I want to be flexible too. So I do a lot of stuff with like make.com automating, and so I can swap out GPTs or LLMs, but I'm not motivated enough yet to do it. It's a big task. Yeah.
So in terms of sports and recreation, apart from golf, you looked into things like, I guess, zip lines, cross-country skiing, etc.?
Yeah, well, it's a good, you can see just by looking at it, it's a great place to do cross-country skiing. It's just a matter of whether we have people there for the full winter, because by the end of the season, we can't wait to get out of there.
It's a lot of work in the summer. Like we all
Yeah.
work 12-hour days, 7 days a week. So
There's usually someone there during the summer, but whether or not they can actually like guide tours for cross-country skiing is another question. But as far as sports, like we've got lots of little sort of small scale stuff. There's horseshoe pits. There's an 18-hole disc golf course. Plenty of space to play soccer. When that creek or that lake freezes, because we've got the valve, we can let the bottom part freeze, then open the valve and have like a nice slick layer on top so we can have a skating rink. There's rafting, there's kayaking.
yeah, there's a lot of
zipline
outdoor
actually
sports in the region, like
Yeah.
horseback riding, rafting, kayaking, paragliding, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, we had one of our partners just wanted to do the full tour of everything in the region, and she never got to all of it because it was just, there was so much. But she had, every day she came back with pictures of her paragliding or kayaking or whatever. So there's lots to do, and it's all within 30 minutes drive, most of it within 15.
It's actually kind of amazing that so many people in BC don't know about this place. I guess there's so many cool places in BC, but we get a lot of European tourists that travel, you know, across the world just to see it. So,
Yeah,
Very cool.
thanks.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah. If anybody wants to check out more, I think it's futurethinkers.org.
Actually, what we're putting out there now, and I've got these 3D printed things. I'll get you guys to grab them. I've got tons of them. But it's portal.place.
Portal.place.
And that's sort of going to be the home of the network of villages. So as we start acquiring more properties to do these projects on, that's where you'll find the full list of properties.
Yeah.
But it's very information heavy, and all the videos I've shown you, they're all on there. There's a lot of information on that page, and we just kind of finished it the other day, so there's a lot of jank in it right now. So
it
don't
needs
judge me. I did
a few
it myself.
more days, yeah.
Yeah, it needs probably another week to finish, but
And
Yeah,
that's
big
where the
ideas there.
membership will live also. That's where people will be able to sign up to become a member.
Yeah.
And that's the intermediary company that will give people access to all the different places that
so
are.
if we did a crypto play for membership, that would be the company we would do.
Mhm.
Cool. Any more questions?
Any other last questions here? Did you have one?
Cool. We'll be around to chat.
Cool.
too, so.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks for having
having us.